Good morning or afternoon, Australia. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I am the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I would like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is a very special webinar for the teams that are in Australia. We'd like to welcome everybody to BNI Connect. We are very excited to have you as part of the family. I've been working personally with Frederick, Marcoux, and the rest of the teams from the national office and the executive director teams, and we are very, very, very happy to have you here. So today's webinar, we're going to go through some of the various leadership team topics. We actually have two webinars in a row. We have this webinar now for the next about 45, 50 minutes or so, and then we have another webinar right after it. This webinar is for the vice presidents and the membership committees of the chapter, and we're going to be covering things like the POMS reports and the online renewals and some of the reporting, some of the parts of the reconciliation process, really all the things that you guys need to know about as a leadership team. Now, there's no possible way we'll cover everything in BNI Connect in the next 45 to 50 minutes or so, but we hope to cover a lot of the topics that you guys can jump into right away. A couple of notes about this webinar. Again, this is a live webinar, so if you have questions as we're going through the webinar today, what I'd like to say is to please write those questions down. There is a questions panel here in the GoToWebinar software, and if you could type your question in, I'll see that pop up on my screen, and as we're going through the webinar today, I can answer those questions. So we are scheduled for about 45 minutes or so worth of content, and we'll leave some time at the end for some questions as well. But we do have to make sure that we end this webinar after about 55 minutes because we do have another one scheduled right after it. So I do see a couple of notes here. Trevor and Meredith both say hi. I'd like to welcome you guys both to the webinar today. So thank you guys so much for being here. As I said before, this webinar is being recorded. We'll make it available in a couple of different places. The first place is on the support site in BNI Connect. You can go to support.bniconnect.com. Again, that's support.bniconnect.com, and you'll be able to find the recordings there on that site, as well as a list of all of the webinars that we do on a monthly basis. You can also go to youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. All right, so let's jump right in. So before we get started on the actual BNI Connect portion of this, what I'd like to give you guys is kind of an overview of BNI Connect. And BNI Connect is a humongous project. It really is amazing in the scope of what it is. Just to give you guys a little bit of information about this without going too far into it. Here's just a couple of numbers. With you guys coming on board over the course of this month, we will have well over 65 countries in BNI Connect. It will now represent all of the countries in BNI around the world. The only country left to migrate over after this will be Israel. We do have a couple of technical challenges with the language, but as soon as they migrate over, the entire BNI world will be on the same platform. That consists of well over 700 regions. At this point, about 7,000 chapters. Every region in BNI Connect also has their own website. Every chapter in BNI has their own chapter website as well. At this point, over 150,000, and with you guys coming on board this past week or so, we're going to have over 170,000 active members on BNI Connect. There's over 500 discussion groups. These are the social media groups within BNI Connect where members are talking with each other around the world. They're talking about how they can pass referrals, how they can do better in their positions in their chapters. Now, BNI Connect, it happens to be hosted on the web, but it is not a website. It is a web application. There's about 1,000 pages, individual web pages within this application. 120 reports. There's a dozen different programming language. There is 1 million lines of code, and we translate everything into about 47 different languages, including with the addition of English Australian and English New Zealand. We have about 15 different versions of English out there, including a bunch of other languages, French and Spanish and German, Dutch, everything that we do in BNI Connect has to be translated into every language for every country that BNI Connect is in. Now, the BNI Connect team, it is not just me, but we have a bunch of people around the world. I happen to be the director of support, so I manage the support and training team, which is made of myself. We have another person, his name is Larry Brand. He is out of the New York area. We also have Riaz Mehendi. You guys will become familiar with Riaz because he is in Malaysia. He's the national director for Singapore. He handles what we consider in the United States our overnight shift. So he'll be answering a lot of your questions throughout the off hours for us. But we also have a project management board and a testing team and programming and development business analysts. I mean, just a bunch of people on this project, and we are from all over the world. Now, what makes BNI Connect so exciting? BNI Connect is exciting because really we can take this to the next level of local business global network. For the first time in the history of BNI, we have just about every member on the same platform. Now, one thing you may not know about me is that I am also a member. I go to chapter meetings. It is still Thursday here in the United States. I went to my chapter meeting this morning. I'm a member of the Wakefield chapter in Rhode Island in the United States, and our chapter has about 50 members or so. We did about $4.5 million worth of business last year. And before BNI Connect, if I wanted to do business with another BNI member, it was kind of hard to do. Whether it was another member here in Rhode Island or whether it was a member in another state like Florida or California, whether it was a member in Canada or the United Kingdom or Germany, it was really hard for me to find somebody else to do business with. Now that we're all on the same platform, I can reach out to other members around the world and do business with them. That's a really exciting concept because we all share a lot of the same philosophies. Giver's gain is a language spoken around the world. One of the exciting things in my position is I get to do some training in other countries, and I went to a meeting in the Netherlands. So when I was in the Netherlands, I wanted to visit a BNI chapter, and I said to the executive director, can you bring me to a chapter? He said, yeah, you may not enjoy it because they don't speak English. I said, oh, that's okay. It should still be an interesting experience. And I went to the meeting, and he was right. They speak Dutch, and I could not understand a word of what was happening in that meeting. But what was really cool was that I understood what was going on. So when I showed up to that meeting, they were doing the open networking portion, and I could see that people were excited to see each other. I could see that they were catching up on things that they hadn't seen each other and talked about for the last week. We sat down and we did the educational moment, and we did these 60-second presentations, and I could tell that which people were prepared for their weekly presentations and which people were just kind of winging it for the week. When they went to the referral and testimonial portion of the meeting, I could see that people were excited about getting referrals from each other. And then after the meeting, they were doing their membership committee meetings. They were, talking and visiting and continuing to do business after the meeting. And that was really cool, even though I could not understand a single word of what they were saying. And that's the type of thing that we have here in BNI, is the ability to have instant credibility around the world. It's better than Google. It's better than Angie's List or Craigslist or Yelp or any of these other sites that rate businesses. We have BNI. We have the membership committee. So as we go through some of the things today, we're going to be talking about really the leadership team side of things, but things that are really exciting to me as a member is that I believe that BNI enhances your membership. The online slips, we're going to talk about that a bit today, and really from a vice president and membership committee standpoint, one of your primary responsibilities is entering the POMS report on a weekly basis. When you get your chapter on board with the weekly slips, your job will become a lot easier. And that's because the online slips automatically populates the POMS report. So when they enter their slips through BNI Connect, if you have your whole chapter doing that, all you need to do is take attendance at the end of the week. And there's some added benefits to that as well. When you pass a referral online through BNI Connect, your referral partner gets a notification right away, letting them know that they have a new referral. So that means that you can speed up the referral process. You don't have to wait for your weekly meeting for that exchange to happen. On top of that, you have all the reporting capabilities. So rather than just keeping track of the statistics, you can keep track of all of the details of every referral, of every thank you for closed business, of every one-to-one that you've had. Some of the other benefits, the profile availability. Your profile from BNI Connect is out there in a bunch of different places, on the country website, on the regional websites, on your chapter websites. It's available to 170,000 other members around the world through the inside of BNI Connect as well. The visitor management program in BNI Connect really helps to increase the number of people that actually show up to your chapter. Between the ability to send out an email invitation to visitors, then you can also pre-register visitors for meetings, which sends them a reminder. It sends them a registration message. It even alerts the leadership team that a visitor will be showing up to the meeting. All of these things help to have more visitors show up to your chapter meetings, which helps you to grow your chapters. And finally, the groups in BNI Connect. And again, these are the discussion groups. This is where people are going to be talking with each other. There's a couple of groups that Dr. Ivan Meisner runs himself that have over 3,000 members in them, all people talking about concepts in BNI, talking about ideas, introducing themselves, building visibility and credibility on a worldwide scale. All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Are there any questions before we jump into the actual BNI Connect portion of things? Again, this is not a PowerPoint entirely. I'm going to show you some things in BNI Connect. So we do have a comment from Louise. She said that Australian English is the real English. So thank you very much, Louise. All right, so let's take a look at BNI Connect. I'm going to close out of this PowerPoint. All right, so this is the logged in portion of BNI Connect. So this is what you guys are going to see if you have not logged into BNI Connect already. This is the home page of BNI Connect. And some of the things that you'll see right away when you log in, this is called the My BNI Business page. So you'll see some of your statistics. So you can see the referrals that you've given, the referrals that you've received, thank you for closed business, the visitors, the one-to-one, the CEUs, all of those things will be right there as soon as you log in. So if you want to see your return on investment, your activity in your chapters, it's right there. On this page as well is all of the ability to do the online slips. Now we're going to cover that very briefly today, how to pass online slips. And again, if you pass the online slips, there's a bunch of benefits to those. Again, as the vice presidents, one of your jobs is to have to put in that POMS report every single week. My chapter is a chapter of about 50 members. It would take our vice president somewhere between 60 and 90 minutes to count out all the slips. Since we switched over to doing all online slips, now it takes them somewhere in the vicinity of about 90 to 120 seconds a week, because all we have to do is keep track of the attendance. So let's take a look at this. If I want to submit a slip, an online slip throughout the week, you'll see that there's the options here at the top. It says submit thank you for closed business, submit referral slips, submit one-to-one, and submit CEUs. So let's say that I have a referral for somebody in my chapter. What I would do is click on Submit Referral Slip. All I need to do is choose somebody from my chapter. And let's say I'm going to choose, I don't know, Mike Moffitt. Mike Moffitt is the painter in my chapter. And let's say I have a referral for him. And that referral is John Smith. It's a tier 2 referral, an outside referral, meaning I'm not referring myself. I'm referring somebody that I know. I give the referral status, the address of the referral. the telephone number, the email address, and any comments. John needs his house painted. I can then rate the referral on a scale of 1 to 5, and then I can click either Save and New if I have another referral slip to put it in right after this, or I can click Submit to submit this one right away. Now, as I said, I'm a member, so I'm not going to go ahead and submit this yet. But the nice thing about these referral slips is that as soon as I submit the referral slip, an email goes to Mike Moffitt and says, hey, Mike, by the way, you have a new referral. So here's an actual referral that I received just a couple of weeks ago. And it says that, congratulations, I've received a new referral from Jason Souza. It gives me the referral's name, it gives me the phone number, it gives me the email address, any of the comments. It then also gives me all of Jason's referral information. So if I need to get back in touch with Jason to find out more about this referral, I can do that from here. Now, the great thing about these referral notifications is that most of us receive these on our mobile devices. So when you receive this on the mobile devices, you can go ahead and click right on the phone number or click right on the email address and start that referral process right away. The other added benefit of this is that with all of these slips, whether it's a referral slip, whether it's a one-to-one slip, so I could do a one-to-one with somebody in my chapter. I could also do a thank you for closed business. So I could choose somebody from my chapter, give a thank you for closed business for the amount of the referral, and they would get credit for that. When you submit any of these slips, they will show up right away in your Review My Slips reports. Now, these review reports give you a ton of information. They give you a much deeper insight into your membership than you ever had before. So when we pass in paper slips in the meeting, it's great. There's a lot of excitement about that, but all you get is the statistic. So you get the number of, let's say, referrals or number of one-to-ones that you did in a year. When we're recording these online, for example, I can go back and look at all of my thank you for closed business slips that I've been inputting into BNI Connect. So I can go back, by default it's going to show me 6 months, but let's say I can go back to when I first started recording slips in BNI Connect, which was back in 2002. And here I can review all of the details of those slips that I've passed for the last couple of years. And the great thing is that I can go ahead and I can sort this by who I pass those referrals to. So I can really see who are my best referral sources. And the answers here might surprise you. It might be people that you didn't expect. And the same thing with the one-to-ones. I can track my one-to-one slips. I can see who I've been having one-to-ones with, not just the number of one-to-ones I've had, but who have I been having one-to-ones with? Now, a lot of people ask, when we're passing these one-to-one slips and we're passing these referral slips and we're passing these thank you for closed business, well, what are we supposed to do at the chapter meeting if we're doing all this stuff ahead of time? And the important thing to remember is that we're not trying to change the chapter meeting in any way whatsoever. You absolutely still want to have your chapter meetings. You absolutely still want to have the thank you portion of the meeting, and you still want to celebrate all of that activity on a weekly basis. Now, one thing you can do is you'll see that there's a notice here to print your weekly slips. And this will really give you the ability to go in, and as you go to your chapter meeting, you can print all of your referral slips for the week and pass those in so that you can be included in the door prize drawing. It also organizes all of the other information so that you can announce it at the meeting. And if you decide you don't want to print this out, there should still be slips available at your meeting so that you can fill out the slip. The only thing we'd say is that if you're putting these slips online, you just put an X through the piece of paper so that you guys know that you don't have to count that when you're counting the other slips. All right, we have a couple of questions on these online slips. So let me answer those real quick. And we have a couple of questions about what is a CEU. CEUs are chapter education units. So this is how we record really ongoing training that we're doing through BNI. So when we go and we listen to some BNI CDs, or we read SuccessNet, or we listen to podcasts, or we go to leadership team training, we can assign ourselves CEU credits for those and keep track of those as time goes on. So for example, today we just did a BNI webinar. If you'd like to, you can give yourself one CEU slip or one CEU credit for this particular webinar. So hopefully that answers your guys' questions on CEUs. Bob says, do you get credit for doing one-to-ones cross-chapter? So yes, you do get credit for one-to-ones cross-chapter. As with all of the various slips, you can do a cross-chapter meeting or a cross-chapter referral. You can do a search to find other people within your region. So it's just going to be people within your particular region in BNI. So for example, I could do a search. There's a person here in Rhode Island that I do a lot of business with. His name is David Cordero. So I could do a search for David. I'm just going to put a couple of letters of his first name and last name. I can choose him. It says, do I want to choose David? And I choose yes. And then he'll be selected for inclusion in this slip. So in the case of a one-to-one or referrals, both people would get credit in their respective PALMS reports for that. All right, hopefully that answers your question. Joel says, is there an ability to reject their referrals? There is no ability to reject referrals at this time. So you can, as vice presidents, you guys still have full control over the PALMS reports, so you can remove them. You can remove the credit from the PALMS reports if necessary. So hopefully that answers your question, Joel. Let's see, Igor says there's a BNI Connect app in the store. The apps that may be out there, whether they're BNI or BNI Connect related, there are no official BNI Connect apps at this time. There are a couple that are floating out there, but it's kind of a use them at your own risk. I can go into more information about that later, but all I can say right now is that they are not official apps. All right, let's see. Jacob says, do we both need to submit one-to-one? So do both people of the one-to-one need to submit them? And only one person of the one-to-one pair needs to submit the one-to-ones. Both people, when it comes to BNI Connect, I know it's a little bit different from the way things were traditionally done in web, but when you do a one-to-one with somebody in BNI Connect, both people get the credit for that one-to-one. So it is a little bit different than what you guys are used to. If the second person goes to put a slip in, it will tell you, it will say, I'm sorry, there's already a slip submitted for this. And it will warn you about submitting a second slip. So it will also, that slip will appear in both people's one-to-one slips report. All right, so hopefully that helps. Jacob says, so you both get credit for the one-way dances, and yes, you both get credit for that. All right. Jorge or George says, are we expecting the members to print their own slips and bring them to the meeting? If they are submitting their slips online through BNI Connect, it is best practice to go ahead and print their own slips and bring them to the meeting. However, we do recommend that slips are still available at the chapters, so if they don't print them out, that they can still fill them out in order to be included for the door prize and to have that activity of passing the referrals. All right, so does that answer your question, Jorge? Or George, I'm not sure. I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. Now, when it comes to slips, one of the most important parts of this from a leadership team perspective is that all of this information, when they put the slips online this way, you guys will already have that in your POMS report. So it makes your job a lot easier. So let me show you how you would enter POMS reports on a weekly basis. So entering POMS reports, you do have to go beyond the home page, especially as a leadership team member. You need to go into some of the menu options here in BNI. To enter some of the other functions, you're going to go into these menu items along the top, and you'll see that there's network, operations, reports, tools, and admin. Now, depending on your level in BNI and in BNI Connect, you may or may not have access to all of these functions. But most people are going to have access to, at the very least, network, operations, and reports. Now, the way that I remember how to find things in BNI Connect, network is going to be all of the social media functions in BNI Connect. So if I'm looking to connect with other people around the world, or I'm looking to participate in the groups or give a testimonial to somebody, that's when I'm going to go into the network functions. Operations has to do with the day-to-day activities in your chapter. So if you're looking to do data input, you're going to go to operations. Reports is always going to be output only. So when you're looking for statistics, you're looking to get information back out of BNI Connect, you're going to go to reports. So generally speaking, operations, input, reports, output. So when you guys want to go in and put your POMS reports in on a weekly basis, we're going to go to the operations menu. So we're going to go to the chapter level operations, and what we'll see here is the different things that we can work with on a weekly basis. We have the visitors function, we have meeting management, we have manage memberships, manage goals, the mentoring program, the ability to create an email, and the news function. Entering POMS reports, we're going to find under meeting management. So on a weekly basis, you go into meeting management, and there's two options here with the POMS reports, one of which is view the POMS summary, and the other is the enter POMS. So if you would like to go in and view any of the weekly meeting reports, you can go to view POMS summary. So let's take a look at that real quick. So I'm looking at my chapter right now. Again, I'm in the United States, in Rhode Island, and in the Wakefield chapter. I can go in and look at any of the POMS reports. I can go back as far as I want to and get a list of all of the reports. And here I can see that each of the weeks that have gone by since April, I can see who entered the reports and what the status of that report is. And if I click on any of those individual reports, I can see what that report was for that particular week. Now, if I'd like to go in and enter a POMS report, I could go back to operations and chapter and enter POMS, or when I'm in here, I could just click enter POMS. I would then choose the week that I want to enter POMS for. So let's say I'm going to enter POMS for my meeting this morning, Thursday morning, and click enter POMS. Now what we'll see here is that if I'm the vice president of my chapter, most of the information here has already been entered for me. And that's because of all the online slips that have been entered. Now, if I'd like to check any of the online slips, I can click this button at the top that says Slips Audit Report. And this will show me all of the online slips activity for the week. So I can verify it that way. Now, if you're also collecting paper slips, which I'm sure you will be doing for a while, what you're going to need to do is to count up those slips and enter them into this spreadsheet. You can also take attendance through the Palms column. One question that we just had popped up here, and it says that do the leadership teams have the ability to cancel a member's entry? And you do still have 100% full control over the Palms report. So if you see a duplicate entry in here, or if you see that perhaps the number is incorrect, you can go in and adjust these figures still. So I could go in and change this from the number of referrals received from 1 to 2, or to 0 for that matter. Now, when you're all set with this, you can go ahead and click Submit Palms. You'll notice there's a couple of other buttons here as well. Mark as holiday means that you didn't meet that week. So if you do have a meeting, let's say around Christmas time or New Year's, if there's weeks that you may not meet, you still want to go in and make sure that you mark that week as a holiday. And what that does is it closes out the report and it makes sure that that week isn't counted in all of the statistics. If you've started entering data and you need to run off and do something else, you can always click on Save as Draft. And if you completely mess things up and you need to start all over again, click on Discard Palms. Any online entries will auto-populate back into the report even after you've discarded it. Once you've submitted it, you'll be shown a review. And then you could go back and do other functions. All right, we have a bunch of questions that are popping up here. Carl says, with 3 ways to give a referral, how do we manage this in terms of doubling up or tripling up? What ways can we check that they are entered twice? So again, you have that slips audit report that you'll see the details of all of those slips that are entered. So you'll be able to check whether or not things are doubled or tripled or quadruple entered. Most of the time it's fairly obvious when people are either accidentally or intentionally entering multiple slips. Let's see, Naomi says, if a member still wants to fill out slips at the meeting because they don't want to enter them online, maybe they're not very web savvy, that still leaves it up to the VP to enter. And yes, if they are still filling up paper, you're just going to enter the statistics. If they choose to just use paper, they will give up all of the additional tracking information. So all you'll be able to do as the vice president is to be able to put in the statistics. So that 1 referral given, 1 referral received, and the thank you for closed business, the 1 one-to-one. That's all you'll be able to do. You are not expected to enter all of the details of the slip. Craig says, can we edit the weekly Palms report after it's been submitted? That's going to depend on the permissions. I'm not 100% sure of that. There is the ability, for example, if I go to View Summary Palms and I choose a meeting date, and let's say I go back into the past here, and I go to any of these completed Palms reports, if you have permissions to do so, you'll see a button at the bottom that says Unlock Palms. If that button is there, then you do have the ability to unlock and then correct a Palms report. If you don't see that button, then that's something that you will have to go to your regional office for to have some assistance with that. So hopefully that helps, Craig. Jacob says, if you change it in that chapter's report, does it update the members' summary totals? And yes, absolutely. The members' Palms reports totals will be updated. However, it does not affect their slips. So it will not change their actual slips reports. So if I edit somebody's thank you for closed business, it won't change their review of the thank you for closed business slips. All right. Paul asked about unlocking palms. I think I answered that one already. Bob asks, how does a director who does not belong to a chapter pass referrals? And Bob, unfortunately, this is a member-only tool. So you do have to be a member of a chapter to be able to pass referrals and one-to-one slips and things like that. There's a technical reason for that. When this part of the program was designed, it does have to be all this activity gets entered into the PALMS report. So aside from the tracking history, the primary purpose was to enter it into the PALMS report. Directors that are not members of chapters, unfortunately, are not tied to a PALMS report, and therefore this function isn't available to them. That being said, we can help you out by showing you how the function works by making you a member in Antarctica, but you wouldn't be able to participate in with the actual members. So I apologize for that, Bob. It's something that is being considered for a future release. Bob says, so should we have a director's chapter and do cross-chapter referrals? Bob, why don't we talk about this offline? That will mess up your statistics because it'll be a fake chapter with fake attendance, and it will impact the traffic lights and a whole bunch of other statistics. So I would recommend against that for now. Let's see. Igor asks about the vice president report. We'll take a look at reports in a couple of seconds. Visitor referrals, Jacob asks, is there a slot in here to record visitor referrals? With the slips, we do not record visitor referrals, although we can record visitor thank you for closed business. Visitor and BNI appear at the bottom of the thank you for closed business list. So we do record thank you for closed business from visitors. However, for referrals, we do not track those. We only track their referrals between members. All right, so we were under the chapter operations menu. We only have about 15 more minutes, so I want to make sure that we touch upon some of the other important aspects here in BNI Connect. A couple of other things that you guys are going to be very, very interested in. One thing is under the operations menu. If you need to get in touch with your chapter and you need to send an email out to the other people in your chapter, there's a very easy way to do that here in BNI Connect. Before BNI Connect, as somebody that's been on the leadership team multiple times, what I always used to have to do is go back to my email and find the last group message and hit reply all and hope it went to the right people, but it really wouldn't, because there'd be people that left the chapter and new people that had joined that we didn't have their email addresses for. Well, here in BNI Connect, you can click on Create Email, click on Email My Chapter, and this will give you the most current distribution list for your chapter. So you can just go ahead and highlight these and copy them. Start up your own email, whatever you happen to use. I use Outlook, but if you use Gmail or anything like that, put everybody into the BCC line is my recommendation. Type out your email and click send. That way you're sure it will always go to the right people. There's also a really cool tool in here called the Visitor Invitation. And under the Visitor Invitation, you can invite a visitor to come and visit your chapter. A lot of times when we go out, we're at networking events, we say to people, hey, why don't you come and visit our chapter? And we don't know the right things to say necessarily. It might be a very casual invitation. So you can go ahead and invite them by clicking on Email Visitor Invitation. What this does is it adds this information into a custom email template. So I can go ahead and put a person's name is, let's say it's Bob Greenup, and the company name, and the email address. Now I'm going to put my own email address in here so you guys can see what this invitation looks like, and a personal message. Now the personal message is going to be the first paragraph of this email. So I can say, it was great meeting you at the networking event. I would love to introduce you to my networking team. I click send. This will immediately appear. It'll send it out and input that information into the email. And this email just came into my inbox, and it's got a nice BNI graphic in there. Dear Bob, it was great meeting you. You're cordially invited to my chapter. It gives you the address, the day we meet, and the time. It does a brief explanation of what BNI is all about, lets them know that we're looking for somebody in their profession, and to please RSVP with you. If they hit reply to this, it will go to your email. Quick question on that. Lynn asks, can we choose the invitation templates, look, and content? So the invitation template is set by the regional office. So it is going to be a common template for everybody that's in BNI in your particular region. So if you do feel that it needs any changes or anything, talk to your executive director and they might be able to make some amendments to it. And again, that includes the text of it. You can choose your own first paragraph text, however. All right, so moving on, let's take a look at some of the reports. We had some questions before about reports and how do we generate, let's say, the vice president report and things like that. If we go to the reports menu, there's a bunch of different reports that you can access in BNI Connect. So we're going to go to the reports menu and look at the chapter level reports. And you'll see here on the left that there are a ton of reports. There's about 15 or so different reports that you can access here in BNI Connect. Now, I'm not going to show you all of the reports today. We just simply don't have time to go through all of the reports. But I want to show you a couple of my favorites as they apply to people in the vice president membership committee positions, important ones for leadership teams. Especially when you're in the membership committee, you're going to be reviewing memberships a lot and discussing whether or not they're able to renew and things like that. One of those reports that you'll find helpful with that is the member training report. Now, the member training report's fairly obvious. If you just run the report, you'll see that the trainings that people attended. But one of the nice features I like about this is the show never attended. So if, for example, you're looking for people that have not yet attended the member success program, I can choose show never attended against the member success program. And when I click go, I'll be able to see all the people in my chapter that have not yet attended the member success program. I can see when they joined. And as somebody in the membership committee, somebody on the leadership team, I may want to approach those members to let them know that they should take the member success program. The chapter roster report is a fairly straightforward, obvious report. However, as somebody on the leadership team, you want to make sure that your people are assigned to your permissions, to the positions in the chapter. One of the reasons for that is that a lot of the permissions in BNI Connect are related to which position you hold. So if you find that you have, for example, the membership committee that comes to you and says, hey, I needed to review this online renewal, but I don't seem to be able to get to the review page. One of the reasons for that is that they might not be assigned properly to the membership committee. Or the visitor host is saying, I can't enter the visitors. It might be because they're not properly assigned to the visitor host position. So you can see who's assigned to what here under the officers column on the chapter roster report. And of course, if you need to get in touch with your director consultant, you'll see their contact information here as well. And of course, it'll list all your members of your chapter, their business, their phone number, and a brief snapshot of their POMS report. The membership dues report, you are going to want to become very familiar with this report as well. The membership dues report is going to give you the opportunity to review when people are due. Now, of course, the top three, the president, vice president, and secretary treasurer, are going to appear at the top of the list because your dues are compensated while you're serving in position. The next group of important people are going to be the people that are due in the next 2 months. You want to make sure that they're well underway in the renewal process. And then you really want to be looking at the people that are 6 and 7 months out to be able to be reviewing their memberships, because that gives them enough time to make changes as well. Now you'll notice another column here that says member renewal. Now, as part of the online renewal process, this gives you the ability to pre-approve memberships. So when somebody's upcoming for renewal, even if they haven't submitted their application yet, you can pre-approve them. Now, you pre-approve them through this membership dues report. So, for example, if Elliot Granville in my chapter is coming up for renewal, I could pre-approve him by clicking on the little red head in the membership dues report. I can review his information. And as a vice president, I can then certify that our membership committee has had the meetings and pre-approve the upcoming renewal. Elliot would then be sent an email saying, congratulations, you've been pre-approved. Would you like to continue with your online renewal now? We have a quick question here from Naomi. Naomi says, who is able to assign members their roles if we need to alter them? So Naomi, for that, you will have to talk to your regional office. So only your regional office will have the ability to add and remove people from their positions. So they can assign presidents and vice presidents and educational coordinators and things like that. You are not going to be able to do that at the chapter level. All right, hopefully that helps, Naomi. All right, some other reports here. Reports that you want to be familiar with. The Personal Palms report. I'm jumping down a whole bunch of reports here. The Personal Palms report is another great report for reviewing memberships. This will help you to, if a person is coming up for renewal and you need to look at their statistics, this is a great way to look at their individual stats. This also helps if you ever have a member that comes to you and says, yeah, you know what, I haven't been absent 3 times in the last 6 months, or, you know, that my number of referrals doesn't look right. This report pulls their name out of the Palms report and shows you a week-by-week breakdown. So, for example, if I was to pull my name from this list, this would give me a week-by-week analysis of my membership. So I could see what my results were every single week. So I could look back in this and say, hey, you know what? I wasn't absent on March 5th, even though I was marked as absent. So now you know which report to look at. Or maybe it was a particular week that I had a substitute and the substitute didn't show up. So I need to go back and talk to my substitute. Somebody asked about the VP report before, and there is a VP report here. The VP report will give you an entire month's worth of data in one single report. So I can see the week-by-week statistics and be able to report on those in the meeting, as well as the totals down at the bottom. Now, there is also your CATS report. I know you guys use the CATS report. I actually can't see that in the United States. Let me switch over to Australia here. And I will now see the member commitment report. You'll see that it's all the way at the bottom of the list. And I can run this member commitment report. And you'll see that it's very similar to the report that you would have seen in Web. One thing to keep in mind is that you will notice that the one-to-ones are going to be different than what you were experiencing. Again, in BNI Connect, we do record both sides of the one-to-ones. So that will equalize itself over the upcoming months. All right, so we're getting pretty close to the end. What I want to do is to make sure that I answer some of these questions. Obviously, I was not able to cover in just one short hour everything that you guys need to know about being a vice president and a membership committee in BNI Connect. What I do want to tell you is that we do a ton of webinars on a monthly basis, so I welcome you to look at the recordings. I also, if you happen to be up in the middle of the night, most of the webinars are done in U.S. time, although I will be scheduling some more at friendly hours for the United States. So you can take a look at those. Again, click on this question mark in BNI Connect. If you're curious about, for example, any of these reports, you can click on the question mark in front of the reports. For example, this classification's not in chapter. If I click on this question mark, it will take me to the help document for this particular report. And if I click on the big question mark up here, that will take me to the full support site. I can see all the upcoming webinars, and then there's a bunch of recordings under chapter training and documentation. You can also see the upcoming webinars here. Our next webinar is going to be the member tools and reports, and that's going to be this upcoming Tuesday U.S. time at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which I think is pretty early in the morning for you guys. It might be about 6 in the morning on Wednesday the 27th. But again, they're all recorded so you can view those. All right, we have about 5 minutes for questions. So let me see if I can answer some of these questions here. George says we will be running both systems at the same time for a period, or will it be a switch overnight? From what I understand, you'll be running both systems until the 1st of May. So, I'm sorry, 1st of May, that was a couple of weeks ago. 1st of June, you'll be stopping using Web and starting to use Connect. If you have questions about that, George, please talk to your executive director or director consultant. Trevor says, oh, I see the absence report. Gail says, can you sort the CATS report based on numbers? When you see any of these reports, anything that you see with an underline under it, for example, let's say thank you for closed business, you can sort any of those columns by clicking on them. So to answer your question, yes. Ilona says, can you email out the membership commitment report to members? All reports in BNI Connect, you can do a couple of things with them. You can export them. So I could take this report, I can export this out to Excel. And once I have it in Excel here, I can email this out. I can also print this report. I could print it to a PDF or print it to regular paper and email it out from there. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do that in order to get that out to your members, and then use the email my chapter function. Jacob said, does the CATS report calculate to Bob's correctly? We had to import this into XLS to get the real figures. I don't know, to be completely honest with you. I'm not sure with the Bobs and with the other reports that might have been external. You might have to check with your executive director on that, Jacob. Let's see, Bob Greenup says, with the email copy and paste, if you're using a Mac, you will need to paste the emails into Word and do a find and replace. So what Bob's referring to is that if I go to Operations Chapter and I do the email my chapter function, you will notice that it is semicolon delineated. So that means that if you are using a Mac, if you're using Mac Mail specifically, and pretty much only Mac Mail, they don't like semicolons. They prefer commas. So you will have to put that into another program like Word or Notepad and be able to replace all the semicolons with commas. So you are correct on that. Diane asks about online payment plans. Please do check with your executive director on that one. So I don't have the answer to that one. All right, so there was a couple more questions in here that unfortunately I don't think I'm going to be able to get to. What I'd like to say is that if you have additional questions, please do first check with your director consultant, your executive director, and then you can always send us an email, support@bniconnect.com, or go to support.bniconnect.com. And on the support site, so if I go to support.bniconnect.com, aside from being able to view all of the support material, up at the top you'll see submit a request. There you can submit a question to us and we will be happy to answer your questions and or refer you to the right place to get that answer. All right, so I'd like to thank everybody for being here today. I apologize I was not able to get through all of the questions. Again, we're going to be jumping right into the very next webinar, which is going to be for the presidents. We're going to be going through some more of these reports that we didn't touch upon on this webinar, as well as some of the other functions in BNI Connect. So if you'd like to join us, please jump right back on and to the very next webinar. Again, thank you guys so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in a future webinar. Happy connecting, everyone.